In this video tutorial, I am going to discuss about eukaryotic DNA replication. In the previous 3 videos, we had already seen prokaryotic DNA replication. So, the process of prokaryotic DNA replication is almost similar to the eukaryotic DNA replication. Of course, eukaryotic DNA replication is a very complex process, okay, with respect to prokaryote. But the major steps or the major process of DNA replication remains same in case of prokaryotes and eukaryotic DNA replication. So what I am going to do in this video is, we will discuss eukaryotic DNA replication whenever there is a difference from the prokaryotic DNA replication. So on one side we have prokaryotic DNA replication, and on another side we have eukaryotic DNA replication. We will discuss it in the compare and contrast manner so that it will become easier for you guys to remember. So this is the snapshot of the DNA replication. The first thing that we need to discuss is that in case of prokaryotic DNA replication, we know that prokaryotic DNA is the circular DNA like this. It's a circular double helix. Whereas in case of eukaryotic, the DNA is the linear DNA molecule. There is non-circular DNA in case of eukaryotic organism. So first thing that we need to discuss is the origin of replication. Origin of replication. Or you can say ori site. Ori site. We know that in some region are rich in AT. So there are weaker hydrogen bonds, and from there only replication starts. In case of prokaryotes, there is only one ori site on the DNA. So this is the ori site on the DNA. Whereas in case of eukaryotic DNA replication, on eukaryotic DNA, there are multiple ori sites. So one site over here, one site over here, and one site over here. This darkened site are the AT rich region from where replication start. Eukaryotic DNA is very large as compared to prokaryotic DNA. Okay. So to complete full genome replication in very short time, nature had accepted one smarter way, that multiple origin sites. So at the multiple site, if replication starts simultaneously, then the replication can be completed with higher speed or in a short time. So this is one of the major striking difference between prokaryotic and eukaryotic DNA replication. The second is, this site needs to be identified by certain protein. So how origin recognition or ori site recognition occurs? Origin recognition. So we had seen in prokaryotic DNA replication that there are DNA A proteins. DNA A proteins are there which identifies this ori site. So they binds to this ori site. In case of prokaryote, the same mechanism, by the same mechanism, there are different kinds of protein that is known as origin recognition complex. Origin recognition complex. These are the complexes of the protein. Short form is ORC. So ORC proteins binds at the ori site in the eukaryotes. So mechanism is almost similar, just the protein is different. Okay. Even the 3-dimensional structure of ORC is matching with the DNA A protein. The third difference. So once ori site is formed, then what will happen? Once this origin recognition protein binds with the ori site, there is a replication bubble formation over here. So this part, there will be a formation of replication bubble like this. Here also replication bubble forms. So in case of eukaryotes, we have multiple replication bubbles. And of course, this ori recognition proteins remain bound to this replication bubble. Then once replication bubble is formed, this replication bubble needs to expand in both the direction, and that action is carried out by enzyme which is known as helicase enzyme, or you can call it as a helicase activity. So helicase work like a unzipper. It will unzip the 2 chains of this DNA. So what will happen? Once helicase activity occurs, this replication bubble expand. So in case of prokaryote, this helicase activity is attributed to DNA B protein. DNA B protein, or you can also call it as a helicase of prokaryotes. Helicase of prokaryotes. Whereas in case of eukaryote, this action, this expansion of replication bubble or unzipping of this double-stranded helical DNA structure is carried out by mini chromosome maintenance protein. mini chromosome maintenance complex. There are multiple proteins involved in this formation of complex. So this mini chromosome maintenance complex, short form is MCM complex, carry out the helicase activity. So as you can see, only the names of proteins are different, and of course protein themselves are different, but the essence of activity, the essence of steps remain the same. So once helicase has acted upon this this replication bubble, what will happen? Replication bubble expands. So now the replication bubble was small, so now there will be a replication fork formation. Okay, here the helicase enzyme lies. Okay, so now there is a formation of this single stranded DNA, and this single stranded DNA must be protected from the nuclease action, otherwise nuclease could break down this single stranded DNA. So this single stranded DNA should be protected. So how single stranded DNA protection occurs in case of prokaryotes? We had already seen that there are certain protein known as single strand binding protein. So these are SSB proteins, and their function is to protect the single stranded DNA. In case of eukaryote, the same function of this SSB protein is carried out by the replication protein A. And short form is RPA. This replication protein A causes the protection of the single stranded DNA in case of eukaryote. Now once we have very nice replication formation just like this, occurs, what is the next step? That this primer has to be synthesized. So this is a RNA primer. This red part is the RNA primer. How RNA primer is formed and why there is a requirement of RNA primer, that we had already discussed in my previous video. So this primer is synthesized. It is synthesized by primase enzyme. Actually primase is the name of activity, primase activity of one protein that is known as DNA G protein. So this protein has a primase activity, and which synthesizes this RNA primer, which I had shown in this figure by the red color. This is the story of prokaryote, but in case of eukaryote, the same RNA primer is synthesized by the polymerase alpha enzyme, DNA polymerase alpha enzyme. This polymerase alpha has multiple subunit, and one of its subunit has a primase activity. So generally we write this enzyme as a pol alpha oblique primase G. This is very interesting enzyme that we will discuss in very short time. Okay, so right now just you can remember that in case of prokaryote, this RNA primer is synthesized by DNA G, whereas in case of eukaryote, it is synthesized by the primase activity of one of the subunit of polymerase alpha. Okay, so let's write it down in the table also. So the primer synthesis is by the DNA G protein in case of prokaryotes, whereas pol alpha, or you can say DNA polymerase alpha oblique primase enzyme. So this synthesizes the primer. Then once primer is synthesized, then what will happen? This black strand, which is a pure DNA, it needs to get synthesized. So we had seen in the prokaryotic DNA replication that this part is synthesized by DNA polymerase 3 of prokaryotes. Okay, it's a DNA polymerase 3. Now if you look at the structure of DNA polymerase 3, it is like this. It is one ring like structure, and then main bulk of enzyme lies like this. So this complete structure is of the DNA polymerase 3. This ring like structure, its beta subunit. Now there is advantage by this beta subunit, that this ring like structure, it clamps on the template strand, and the remaining bulk of enzyme, which is DNA polymerase activity, remains at this place. So what will happen? This enzyme, this ring ensures that this DNA polymerase 3 enzyme always remains near to the template, so that high processivity of this enzyme is achieved. And what is the processivity and why we need that I had already discussed in previous video. So now because of this ring, this enzyme always remains near to the template, plus as new DNA synthesis occur, it starts moving over here. So because of this ring is sliding over this template, and of course it slides from the 3' to 5' direction of the template. So this beta subunit, which is this beta subunit of DNA polymerase 3, it acts as a sliding clamp. What about in the eukaryotic DNA? Eukaryotic DNA replication. So similar sliding clamp like structure is there, but not as a part of any polymerase enzyme. It has been given a different name as it is a separate entity. It is known as PCNA. So it is known as PCNA, that is proliferating cell nuclear antigen. Proliferating cell nuclear antigen. So proliferating cell nuclear antigen acts as a sliding clamp like beta subunit of DNA polymerase 3 in the eukaryotes. So let's write this also in the table. So sliding clamp, in case of prokaryote, it is carried out by the beta subunit of DNA polymerase 3, whereas in case of eukaryotes, it is carried out by the PCNA, that is proliferating cell nuclear antigen. Once all the DNA synthesis occurs, what happens? This RNA primer, it needs to get removed. This RNA primer, it has to get removed. So RNA primer is removed by one enzyme that is known as DNA polymerase 1 in case of prokaryote, right? In case of eukaryote, this RNA primer, it is removed by two different proteins or enzymes. One is RNase H. This is one enzyme which can remove this RNA primer in case of eukaryote, and the second enzyme is flap endonuclease 1. That is flap endonuclease 1. This flap endonuclease 1, it is also known as FEN1 protein. Okay, so these two enzymes are responsible for the removal of RNA primer in case of eukaryotic DNA replication. So these are the major differences. Between prokaryotes and eukaryotic DNA replication. So let's write down this last point, that how RNA primers are removed, so that our table remains complete. RNA primer removal. So in case of prokaryote, we have DNA polymerase 1 enzyme which can remove RNA primer. In case of eukaryotes, we have RNase H and flap endonuclease 1. So these two enzymes remove RNA primer from the eukaryotes. Now you must be thinking that we had not discussed about the main bulk of enzyme, that is DNA polymerase. This DNA polymerase, I had kept it for the separate discussion because there is a vast difference between prokaryotic DNA polymerase and eukaryotic DNA replication. Okay, so let's see about that. We had already seen the prokaryotic DNA replication. Their main enzymes are DNA polymerase, right? DNA polymerase. In case of prokaryotes, we had seen that we have DNA polymerase 1, DNA polymerase 2, and DNA polymerase 3. Out of these three, we had seen DNA polymerase 1 and DNA polymerase 3 in the action. We had not discussed about DNA polymerase 2. We will discuss about this in the future videos. In case of eukaryotes, there is a different naming system for the eukaryotic DNA polymerase. Here we write short form as a DNAP. In case of eukaryote, to mention DNA polymerase, we simply write simple POL, that is polymerase. And instead of this Roman number, we can use Greek alpha letter, that is Pol alpha, Pol beta, Pol gamma, Pol delta, and Pol epsilon. So far this 5 DNA polymerases of eukaryote has been elaborated. This all 5 has a high fidelity rate. It has high fidelity. High fidelity means they do a minimum mistakes. They carry out their work with full of the honesty. They never does the mistake. So these are the high fidelity enzymes. Now out of this alpha, beta, gamma, delta, and epsilon, many students think that Pol alpha is the main enzyme. No, that is the main mistake. Actually, Pol delta and Pol epsilon, these are two main enzymes. See, Pol delta is responsible for the DNA synthesis on the lagging strand. And Pol epsilon is responsible for the formation of DNA on the leading strand. Okay, so if we look into the diagram, and if we are discussing about eukaryotic DNA replication, this leading strand DNA, it is synthesized by the polymerase epsilon, whereas this black part on this lagging strand, it is synthesized by the polymerase delta in case of eukaryotes. Okay, so we can see that major bulk of the DNA is getting synthesized by these two enzymes. Pol gamma is a little bit weird, or you can say it is one totally unique function, that it is used for the mitochondrial DNA replication. It is for the mitochondrial DNA replication. So this Pol gamma is for the mitochondrial DNA replication. So these three enzymes which are taking part in the major portion of the DNA replication, these three are equipped with the proofreading action. So this gamma, delta and epsilon has a proofreading action also. Now we all know what is the proofreading action. That is the 3' to 5' exonuclease activity. Exonuclease activity. If you are not aware, I discussed about this proofreading action and why it is attributed to this 3' to 5' exonuclease activity. You can watch my previous three videos. Okay. Now what about polymerase alpha and polymerase beta? As I told you at this place earlier in this video, that this Pol alpha is very interesting enzyme. Okay. So I kept best for the last. So Pol alpha, it is actually a multiple subunit. Pol alpha, this Pol alpha of the eukaryote, it has a multiple subunit. So there are so many subunits are there in Pol alpha. Out of this multiple subunit, one subunit, let's say this yellow mark subunit, this has a primase action. It has a primase activity. Primase activity. So it makes up a RNA primer. So as you can see in the diagram, that this red part, in case of eukaryote, it is synthesized by this primase activity subunit of this Pol alpha. The remaining subunit has a DNA polymerase activity. Okay, so it can also synthesize DNA. So if you consider complete assembly, that is known as polymerase alpha, it can synthesize RNA as well as DNA. In case of prokaryote, it was straightforward that this red part, this RNA part is synthesized by one different enzyme, and then this black part, that is DNA, that is synthesized by something different. But in case of eukaryotes, it is very interesting. Suppose this is the replication fork. Okay, this is 3' to 5' and this is in the reverse. So this is the leading strand. So first RNA primer is there. Now this RNA primer is synthesized by this portion, this primase activity. One subunit has primase activity of the polymerase alpha. So this RNA primer is synthesized by this portion. But this Pol alpha didn't stop over there. It also synthesizes small piece of DNA along with this. Okay, so this much portion. So this pure RNA primer plus small DNA sequence, it is synthesized by this polymerase alpha. In case of lagging strand also, it does the same action. It synthesizes the RNA primer plus very small piece of DNA attached with this RNA primer. Okay, so this much portion is getting synthesized by the Pol alpha. Now later on, this small piece of DNA is extended by, as this is a leading strand, it is extended by which enzyme? We had already discussed that leading strand is synthesized by Pol epsilon. So this remaining portion is getting synthesized by the Pol epsilon, right? So here you can see on the leading strand, this is by the primase subunit of the Pol alpha, this is remaining subunits of Pol alpha, and then this portion by the Pol epsilon. In case of lagging strand, this small piece of DNA is extended by Pol delta, right, as it synthesizes lagging strand. So this is synthesized by Pol delta. Here also this synthesized by Pol delta. Okay, so now only one polymerase is remaining of our discussion, and that is Pol beta. Okay, Pol beta is also a unique enzyme. It is used for gap filling in DNA repair. It is used for gap filling in DNA repair. Now regarding DNA repair, we will discuss about the DNA repair in the future videos, but right now you need to just remember that Pol beta is for the gap filling in DNA repair. So summarily, Pol alpha for the primer and small piece of DNA, Pol beta for the gap filling in DNA repair, Pol gamma for the mitochondrial DNA replication, Pol delta for the lagging strand synthesis, and Pol epsilon for the leading strand synthesis. Now, so far we had discussed eukaryotic DNA replication with respect to prokaryotes. But there is one unique action that is required in the eukaryote which is not required in the prokaryote. That unique action is that prokaryotic DNA is a simple circular DNA. But in case of human chromosome or human DNA, what happens? That DNA once replicated, it needs to pack into the chromosomal structure, right? Right. So we know that if this is a DNA, suppose this is the DNA, this DNA lies in conjunction with the histone protein and many different proteins. So suppose these are the histone proteins. So once DNA is replicated, so what happens? Now this parent DNA is now in the duplication. So this is one daughter DNA, this is second daughter DNA. Of course it is semi-conservative, but I am not using different color. So what happens in the parent DNA? Let's say it has these 5 different histone proteins are there. So these 5 histone proteins are randomly distributed. These 5 histone proteins are randomly distributed among these 2 daughter DNA. So suppose 3 histones comes to this daughter 1 and remaining 2 histone comes to this daughter 2. So all histones of the parent DNA are randomly distributed among the daughter DNA, and the remaining histones are newly synthesized. So this different color is for the remaining histone which are newly synthesized by that particular respective DNA, daughter DNA. And one more problem remains, that is the problem of telomeres. This problem of telomeres that I will discuss into the next video. So this is all about the eukaryotic DNA replication. If you have any query or confusion, please write it down in the comment section below. Thank you.